Today, in a couple of different bushlands in Brisbane, Australia, we're exploring the difference between recovery and rest. We'll pause for a memory about an overloaded Greek ferry and finish with a tiny action to help resist physical and mental atrophy. You are watching my foster father collecting bottles and cans in the soaking rain and steaming heat of the Australian summer. He crushes the cans to fit into the carrier of his folding bicycle, gathering funds for Plog's Christmas campaign. While he carries his bike through the gate into Karawatha Forest, I need to share a shift in how we make these videos. On top of the stresses of recently moving out of home, I'm seriously struggling as a first-year teacher. I am genuinely worried about burning out. Because of this, I simply no longer have the time or the mental energy to research and write these Plog vlog scripts. My foster father is going to have to take over that heavy lifting. This is hard for him because he is openly honest about not being a very smart man, and he struggles to read. But I am still deeply emotionally attached to Plog vlog. I believe the ideas it shares are important and could truly enhance some people's lives. I'm also still fiercely committed to telling my deceased mother's story. I refuse to let Liz be forgotten, like so many other people who died during the pandemic years. Moving forward, I will support my foster father by fact-checking what he narrates from the field, writing corrections and explanations where necessary. I just ask that he continue to include the intermission stories about Liz's life. For this episode, let's hear what he has to say about the concepts of recovery and rest.
At Plog Vlog, we could give the impression that we are constantly out on a fantastic adventure traveling around the world. We do enough filming during the school holidays to be able to just stitch that all together and look like we've got this life that is really not possible for most people. But we're going to be real about this. We don't. We film on the holidays and come back and work during the school term to be able to get enough money to go and do that again. Another important part of that is that it gives us time to recover. And this week's Plog Vlog episode is going to be about the concept of recovery versus rest. As a former personal trainer and fitness instructor, recovery is an important term. What it means is that you have created stimuli that is going to make your body less fragile, physically and or mentally. And then you need time for your body to recover and adapt to that so that you become less fragile. We might call that stronger. If we rest too much, which is what we do when we've gone beyond recovery, we end up in a situation where the body goes backwards rather than forwards. So let's look at recovery as recovery from adverse stimuli, from stimulation. Morning, how you going? Good. And rest is what happens when you get beyond recovery. Something that concerns me when I ask other people who work in education what they're going to do on their holidays, and we do get a lot of holidays, is I say to them, well, what are you up to on the holidays? What do you got planned? And so many of them say, oh, I'm resting. I want to get some rest, sleeping, catching up on Netflix. Now see the word? The word is rest. They perhaps think they're going to recover, but by the end of the holidays, they've rested so much that they're actually going backwards. What worries me, and I've said this in a lot of other episodes, is that we might be heading into a world where AI provides us the opportunity to do nothing but rest if we choose to. Maybe even that is the thing that is promoted to us. In fact, in my society, it already is. Rest is sold to people as something that is good rather than something that causes them to go backwards and become unwell. Our concern about this is why Plog Vlog has decided to focus on one particular video. A video filmed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in London. That video talks about a future where AI gives us that opportunity to rest all the time. Now, let me create a picture for you. You'll all know it. You've all seen WALL-E. Now, when I talk about WALL-E, people understand what I mean by a life of rest. But unfortunately, people get focused on the body image. That often happens. So let's say, you know how they're drinking those sippy cups? Let's say those sippy cups make them ultra buff. Everyone is beautiful and buff and even physically capable of everything. So that takes away the physical unwellness that comes from resting too much. So let's say that. Everyone's buff, everyone's beautiful. Everyone can do anything they want. They're super strong, super fit, just because of drinking out of their sippy cups. Let's say though, they don't use that capability for anything. They still ride around in their electric push chairs. They still watch their screens in front of them. They still communicate just via those screens. Aren't we pretty much doing that already? So imagine that world. Imagine also another group of people. And that group of people recognize the risk of that. And what they do is they seek out safe adversity. They seek out things that are uncomfortable, like this, and they go out and do that. And while they're out there, they look for things that matter to do that AI wouldn't bother, that the people who are earning squillions out of AI wouldn't bother spending money on. Like this, right? Now that's why we've chosen to focus on, whenever we're in Brisbane, picking up stuff like this that can earn money for that Christmas campaign.
My foster father paints a stark picture of where extreme comfort might lead us. It is a warning about what happens when we stop needing to actively participate in life. On that note, let's pause for a story about my mother Liz and look at what an extreme climb looks like. Time for a short intermission, an opportunity for me to remember some of my mother's life. It was mid-August, and my mother Liz and her childhood friend David had travelled by ferry to the Greek island of Tinos, just before the Festival of the Assumption. The island was home to the icon of the Annunciation, a relic reputed to have miraculous healing powers. Because of this, the small island was completely overrun by nearly 30,000 devout pilgrims. Liz and David watched in absolute awe at the intense, painful dedication of the believers. Devout women were crawling on their bloodied and scabbed knees, all the way from the docks up the long, wide road to the church at the top of the hill. They endured this profound, intense, and physically agonizing display of faith just to kiss the glass casing of the icon. But on August 15th, the festival ended, and tens of thousands of visitors decided to leave the island at the exact same time, hoping to catch a quiet ferry to the neighbouring island of Syros. Liz and David headed to the docks, only to find themselves swallowed by a terrifying mass exodus. They were crammed onto a dangerously overloaded ferry named the Dimitra. The boat was so packed with people, luggage and cars that it tilted precariously to one side. Its waterline plunged terrifyingly deep below the surface. Surrounded by arguing, panicked crowds and filthy conditions, they endured a 45-minute cruise of absolute chaos, genuinely terrified that the lopsided ship might capsize. This memory perfectly captures two extremes of human energy. First, the extreme, sacrificial devotion of the pilgrims, much like the deep, purpose-driven calling many feel when they enter professions like teaching. But when you are forced into an overcrowded, chaotic, and unsupported system, that beautiful devotion quickly turns into pure survival panic. You stop climbing toward a higher purpose and start just praying that the ship doesn't sink. I feel that way pretty much every day before walking into the classroom. Enough about me. Let's get back to recovery versus rest to make this useful to you. My foster father is right to be concerned about our society's trajectory. Current research indicates that if artificial intelligence makes physical and mental activity entirely optional, sedentariness will likely skyrocket. We already know from Australian data that a vast majority of adults fail to meet basic physical activity guidelines. When people are given the choice between safe adversity, those self-imposed challenges that build antifragility, and pure rest, they overwhelmingly choose rest. But as we saw on the Dimitra, unsupported systems eventually break down. Infinite rest without challenging stimuli leads to profound physical and mental atrophy. Let's listen now to what my foster father had to say about finding his own freedom to speak about these sorts of things on camera.
Two things have happened with Plog Vlog that previously I might have thought of as terrible or catastrophic even. The first is that Trinity has moved out of home and has handed over most of the responsibility of production to me. She doesn't really mind what I do with the channel as long as I keep in the intermission stories about Liz, her mother. The other thing is that we've turned off all the short form videos on the channel and our viewership has plummeted precipitously. Morning, how you going? Have a good day. That you might think is a bad thing, but I found it's freed me up to not really worry about what the audience thinks. I can just come out, I can prattle on about the things that I think matter, and you don't have to worry about whether someone is going to want to keep viewing or keep scrolling through to the next short form video or click through to a long form video.
He certainly does enjoy prattling on, and for good or bad, that's going to have to be the direction of the channel until I get my teaching sea legs. As I mentioned earlier, I'm really struggling to cope with my new job as a teacher, which is another reason why he is narrating more of these episodes and making a lot of the script up on the spot while he collects litter. We have accepted that this might just have to be the way of things moving forward. So, he is going to study the weekly construct by listening to podcasts created by reliable sources. This means that I will only need to fact-check him and provide some background, rather than write whole narrations from scratch. To avoid the sedentary atrophy outcome my foster father warned about, we need a tool. Here is a potential one. Deliberately impose safe adversity upon yourself. If you do nothing else today, try adding one small, unnecessary physical effort to your day, like parking at the furthest end of the car park or taking the stairs instead of the lift. Perhaps find something that's a little difficult that also has meaning for you. That's what they call finding meaning in life rather than finding the meaning of life. I sincerely hope that I can make it through my first year of teaching. Statistics show that up to half of early career teachers in Australia leave the profession within their first 5 years due to burnout. I'm terrified of burning out before I even manage to pay off my student debt. But for now, I will keep fact-checking and he will keep plogging. On screen now, you can see the next episode on the left, probably containing even more of my foster father's prattle than this one. And there's those compilations popping up on the right. And please, as always, pick up 5.